Live from the Peterson Event Center on the campus of the great University of Pittsburgh inside Pitt Studios, it's the Pat Narduzzi Show. Game 2. I'm Larry Richard with our star, head coach Pat Narduzzi, physically distanced here in our beautifully appointed Pitt Studios. Coach, first and foremost, congratulations on an opening day win, a big one.
It really was. Hey, when you said star, I thought you were talking about DeMar Hamlin here.
Oh,
That's
he's
the
a star. Yes, he is.
I sat on the sideline with my arms crossed, just watching these guys go to work on Austin Peay. But it was a great start. Very impressed with our kids, the way they approached the week in practice. Obviously, the way they approached that first half was outstanding. As clean a first half as you're going to see out of any football team around the country. As I said the other day, it's hard to go score 6 touchdowns on air. Our defense was, just outstanding in that first half. And then we got to play a lot of guys in the second half, which was always good to see. And we've not been able to do that since I've been here at Pitt.
You pitched a shutout on defense, 55 points, a good non-conference way to shape up, and now it's 10 consecutive conference games. We'll talk about Syracuse, your next opponent, in a moment, but some impressive things from Saturday. Kenny Pickett, he was responsible for 300 yards passing and rushing for now what's become his signature, diving for that pylon, and made a couple of moves and made some guys miss. Kenny looked as good as I've ever seen him, and you pointed out, I know with the ACC network, the fact that Kenny Pickett may be the most underrated quarterback in college football.
He definitely is. There's no question about it. They got people ranked above him. In the preseason, I look at that and going like, what are we doing here? This guy's an outstanding quarterback. He's going to play in the NFL. He'll get drafted by, in front of a lot of those guys that are on the list. But we'll just keep we'll keep taking the disrespect and just keep trying to get that win column. He was outstanding. That one run you're talking about, his signature ball out there. I got to tell you a quick story. I didn't know this. I'm watching the tape with the offense on Sunday. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, why did he pull the ball there? The end was slow. His shoulders were square. And Whip was like, I don't know. Well, I found out afterwards, I guess that defensive end was talking some junk to him on the field.
Right.
And he was like, okay, I'll get you. He's like, I'm taking this one.
Well, and he made that little, juke that made him miss and then gave him just enough room to get to the pylon. So we've seen him dive out before, I think, of the Miami game a few seasons ago. Other takeaways from Saturday, you had 5 rushing touchdowns inside the red zone for a team you're hoping to really develop a run game.
Yeah, we worked on it all camp. We talked about it for 3 days of spring ball about, just being able to run the football in the red zone. And obviously we're going to still throw it, but the focus is when we get down there, that field gets scrunched, you better be able to run the football. We ran into problems a year ago where we're trying to throw it in that condensed zone. And, DeMar can tell you about when you get down there, you're not worried about getting beat deep, So your safeties are down low and everybody's a little bit more aggressive. So you better be able to, have a run game. And I think, we'll see how it goes. Obviously Syracuse will, pose a whole different threat as far as the people you're playing against and the quality of an ACC, football team as we go for the next 10, as you said. So, that'll be a work in progress, and we'll get our backs going.
I counted 27 Panthers who made tackles Saturday. That's an incredible number. The only one maybe is Cal Idemitis, the long snapper, who shouldn't have had to make one, but you'll take that with a 55-0 win.
He's a linebacker. He works out with the linebackers. I told you last week. That guy works out with the linebackers. He expects to make one a game.
And I want to address this real quick. I know you did right after the game. Some people asked, why was the second half short, and how did that all come about in the midst of a game? And there you are with instead of 15-minute quarters, 10-minute quarters, first time I've ever seen it in a college football game.
Well, I was in with the defense making adjustments, and Chris LaSalle walked in and said, hey, Coach, I need to talk to you for a second. I'm like, what is going on? What do you mean you got to talk to me? We have someone test positive at the half or what? And he's like, Austin Peay really wants to cut the fourth quarter down to 10 minutes, and they need your agreement. And I'm like, what am I going to say? No, we want to beat you up for another 15. So I said, okay, we'll do it. I said, but do not tell anybody. We're not telling the team until the fourth quarter comes. And about 5 minutes later, we're about ready to jump on the field, and LaSalle, comes up again and says, hey, they want the third quarter to be 10 minutes too. And I'm like, we want to play football here. So that's kind of how it happened. It was, again, something you do for an opponent. Obviously they didn't want to, get all banged up, and we were, that's kind of, waving the white flag, which is okay. It's another victory.
Yeah, just curious how all that transpired. That's unlikely to happen the rest of the way. And like all teams face, you don't know about the audibles until game day now. You found out about some guys that tested, and so you had to move on and play a game. But that's something you're going to have to deal with every week, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to have to overcome some of those adversities, throughout the year period. And, we even had, an exchange period during camp and even, during game week of what if this happens. That's kind of why Brandon George played a little fullback last week, because our offense saw enough out of him. They're like, hey, can we have him for a couple periods a day? So, we've, kind of exchanged. So, I mean, DeMar's ready to play receiver if we have to. And Jason Pinnock and Paris Ford have gotten some reps over there as well. And, I tell you what, Todd Sibley and A.J. Davis look pretty good at linebacker as well. So, I mean, we've moved guys around. I guess, who else? Shockey. We had Shockey at safety. And just you never know.
All right, it was a great week one. We'll talk about the weekly awards, and Coach's special guest is DeMar Hamlin, redshirt senior captain, and excited to have him here. He's a hometown guy from Central Catholic. Plus, Pat Bostic will be along later, and we'll get his view of the game and view of the Syracuse Orange. You're listening to the Pat Narduzzi Show on the Pitt Panthers Radio Network. Jeff Hathorn with the call Saturday against Austin Peay. DJ Turner. So many different names were called over the course of the game. Coach Pat Bostic. That's why I call him in the booth. He's coach because he gets into it. Coach Narduzzi, you know that. Pat's a savant and very much a Panther through and through. So a good start, and when you get a good win like that, or any win, you hand out weekly awards. And I thought this is a good opportunity to recognize some of the individuals who were real standout. Let's start with players of the week. Special teams.
Special teams, Todd Sibley did an outstanding job. He had the block punt, scooped it up, and scored. He plays his role at tailback. And, again, he's about on every special team. He's on our punt team. He's really become a big-time special teams player for us as well, which, that's the third phase that a lot of people forget about. And Todd is very locked into that, and really Coach Powell's right-hand man. If there was a special teams captain, Todd Sibley might be that guy.
And he graded out at 92%. Explain for the fans how that grading system works for coaches.
Yeah, well, coaches grade, we grade, really an assignment grade, so they get a plus or a minus, which is, you either got it done or you didn't, and they get a plus or a minus for execution. So you have really 2 percentage grades. And then, we usually would tag on was he winning? Was he, average? Was he losing? Just to give them, because sometimes those percentages don't equal like we do, in the academic world, where, 60 or below is an F. Sometimes there can be a 75 that's losing. So we kind of grade, like, is it a losing effort or a winning effort? And, and we do that for every kid, on the team for every play that they get in.
Patrick Jones, the second, the big senior, was your player of the week on defense.
Yeah. He graded out really well, had some production for as little plays as he had. He only played the first half pretty much. I think the first series of the second half. But Patrick, is, playing right where he was a year ago.
Of course, on offense, let me guess.
Kenny Pickett, Kenny was outstanding. He I don't know if he missed a read all day in the run game or the passing game. You could say the run read was maybe wrong, but he made it right. All you have to do is make a play. But Kenny was sharp all day.
Yeah, but if he gets the touchdown, then all's well.
That's right. That's right.
All right, offensive lineman of the week, the unsung heroes every week for the offense.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Cradle got that. And, again, he's – he played a lot last year, started I don't know how many games, but he has been more aggressive. And then even really going into this week, that game has propelled him to have a great week of practice this week. I think his confidence level is just so much higher than it was a year ago. He was just, hoping to get through a practice in a game a year ago. He's now trying to be a force on that offensive line, so I was happy for him.
Yeah, representing Butler, and he talked about the intricacies of playing offensive line. How about our unsung heroes on special teams?
Special teams was Eric Houghton. I mean, he had a tackle on special teams, just where he needs to be all the time. And sometimes you're not making a ton of plays, but he plays on a lot of special teams, obviously plays a lot of, safety and corner for us on defense. But a guy, and again, that unsung hero is kind of I look over at DeMar when I think unsung hero. DeMar could be the unsung hero every game, and we could probably, you can't win a game without 11 guys doing their job, and sometimes you get an award. But it's a guy that maybe you didn't notice get that interception, but is always doing everything he needs to do. He's smart, and making sure everybody's in the right place.
And unsung heroes on defense, a rare tie, or there's two guys you couldn't decide between one or the other.
Couldn't decide. I mean, Savasier has been an athletic linebacker for us. He's really in a backup role, but he comes in and he makes a lot of plays. He's made a lot of plays through camp. He's going to be a future great star for us. And then Devin Danielson, I'm not sure if it was his first start of his career, but probably was. And again, he's played really good football for us, and I think he's just going to continue to get better every day.
We talked to both today, both players, and Servassier Dennis was a quarterback in high school, had an issue with his Achilles, didn't think he'd ever play high school football again, let alone at this level, and he's very excited to be on the field contributing. And he said his nickname in high school at quarterback was Houdini.
Houdini?
Yeah, because he would make guys miss and disappear.
I got some video of him dunking a football now, or dunking a basketball. We dunk footballs. That's why I got mixed up. But he's been outstanding, as far as the field. But he's really athletic. He could play basketball too.
Unsung hero offense.
Offense was Vince Davis. Again, didn't rush for 100 yards. Again, played a lot of guys in the backfield. But he was a guy that made a lot of people miss. He just keeps those feet churning and finds a way to make people miss, and that's what we need in the backfield. Speaking
of Houdini, yeah, he made some guys look silly, and he's got a lot of personality. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, Vince is he's interesting now. He's as locked in as I've ever seen him. I mean, last year he was just a true freshman, thinking he was the guy, and he's all over the place at times, but he's really locked in and focused, especially this week after last week.
Defensive attack force player of the week.
Paris Ford, he got that one interception early, which I really think, kind of sparked the offense as well, just to get going, and, made a few tackles. Again, it's usually that guy with the production. Anytime you get a turnover, you're going to have some pretty good production.
And let's end the awards with the Rocks Players of the Week for fans that don't know what the Rocks are.
Yep, the Rocks are, again, that scout team, you may call it or heard it called before, the guys that service our offense, our defense, and our special teams. This guy, Bengali, did a heck of a job for us. Kamara on defense as a Rocks. He was a linebacker. He also does a great job on special teams. I mean, he gives our offense fits, and he makes it hard on them. And, he stood out, last week and already this week as well.
And defense and offense Rocks?
Yeah, the Aliquippa guy, Eli Kosanovich, was the scout team quarterback of the week, or scout team, player of the week on that side of the ball as a quarterback, and gave our offense a great look, worked hard, and just does everything the right way.
And on offense, you said Nate Temple?
Yep, and Nate Temple played defensive end for us, not only in the game but on our Rocks last week, and was coming off of a little bit of an injury, so we put him on Rocks. Again, played on Rocks, did a heck of a job, had a great motor, had a great attitude, and really got those young guys motivated because he'd been there a year ago. And just, showed some leadership there, and then got in the game and played real well, too.
Those are your Panther Weekly Award winners. Speaking of the Rocks, you're going to meet a man who's from McKees Rocks, the young Central Catholic senior defensive back. Happy to be here. DeMar Hamlin will join us when we return. You're listening to the Pat Narduzzi Show on the Pitt Panthers Radio Network.
Be smart. We have to have poise. What? 1, 2, 3, what?
Larry Richard with head coach Pat Narduzzi and coach's special guest. He is a redshirt senior from McKees Rock, Central Catholic's own Damar Hamlin. Damar, good to see you. Welcome to Pitt Studios and your head coach's show. So you're in the spotlight now.
Even better to see you.
You know, you were one of the fortunate players that found out in January that you were going to have a chance to continue. How excited were you to have an opportunity this year before we knew how crazy the year was going to be?
Yeah, before all the madness, it was a shaky week, you know, from the end of the season until I actually found out I got the opportunity to come back for another year. So once we got the opportunity, it was kind of like a no-brainer to come back. And, you know, we just hit the ground running ever since with one goal in mind.
And you've been very focused since you've been here at Pitt, and you played with a lot of passion. How good did it feel to be on the natural turf at Heinz Field Saturday?
It was like a surreal moment, you know. One reason being just having no fans in that stadium. That was the first time I really ever played like a full game in Heinz without fans. But just going through everything we went through with the uncertainty of not playing and not knowing where we would be this fall, just being out there, it was just surreal.
And Coach, I know he's sitting here, but what makes Damar Hamlin so special?
You know, he's a corner playing safety. He's got great coverage skills. I texted him earlier in the week after watching the Syracuse game again. I don't know how many times I've watched it since. But just, he played an unbelievable game. And, he's had every game you could probably put on and say the same thing. But just the way and what he has to do, I've said this before, he's got the hardest job on our football team. Him playing that field safety, playing off quarters. He really makes the whole show go. He's got the hardest job. And like I said, he could be the unsung hero because of the details he plays with. He's got a lot of confidence. They're going to throw a ton of RPOs on Saturday at noon, Syracuse is, and he's the key to all of them. And he's making every tackle. I don't know how many tackles he had a year ago, but he's the guy making the plays.
What about the speed with which Syracuse runs its offense, Damar? They get to the line as fast as any team in football, play after play. So you got to be – you don't have much time to even get back and get ready and get set for the next play.
Yeah, we handle that in practice. We practice hard every day, all day. So no tempo will ever phase us in my eyes. And just playing them year in, year out, and playing other teams that run tempo, it's nothing we haven't seen so far.
And here's a chance to give your defensive coordinator a little love. Coach Bates, he's done a great job with this defense. And I think Coach Narduzzi likes to play a little under the radar. But you got to know that people were talking the defense up right after the bowl game in Detroit.
We don't really feed into the hype. We just more about work. Like guys like me, Pat Jones, Paris, everybody on the team, we just try to focus on each day and just try to get better. That's one thing Coach says, getting 3% better each day. So, the hype never fazed us, and that never been our mentality. So we're just all about work.
I know you're focused 100% on football, but your future, what would you like to do post-football, which will probably be post a pro career, but how do you envision utilizing your education here at the University of Pittsburgh?
One thing I would like to do is I would like to get into some coaching, Other than that, maybe some real estate. That's like a little plan I got cooking up while I'm, playing ball in the league.
Do you ever consider, when you look at the history of the National Football League, how many Pitt Panthers have been a part and are a part of that league?
Yeah, and you can see how many people is producing that come from here. Pretty much a lot of main players on a lot of teams. You go check the records, they went right here at Pitt. And
who do you look up to in the NFL?
Really, my biggest, I would say, role model in a way, I would say is James Conner. That's someone I got to see firsthand, coming in as a young guy, as a freshman, that had a professional approach, and just seeing him overcome some things that he overcame as far as the cancer and everything. And as far, not to compare injuries to that because it's definitely not the same, but
right.
Just dealing with the injuries I dealt with my first year and having 3 surgeries, it just I was able to relate and to just relate to adversity and just perseverance.
I can't think of a player on this team that's happier to be playing here right now than you.
That's why I'm back.
Well, Pitt's Casey Garrow does 10 questions with a player each week, and this week it's Bryce Hargrove, and we'll hear that in our pregame show, which starts at 10, by the way, on Saturday morning. Kickoff at noon at Heinz Field with the Q. So I asked Casey, could I steal a couple of questions for you, DeMar Hamlin? When you were a freshman, what player on the team did you look up to and why?
Like I just said, James Conner. I also say Avonte Maddox. He was a guy that he played my position. And just watching him practice, he practiced 100% full speed all the time. He was one of the smartest guys in the room, and he was just a leader early on. So that was someone I like to model my game after.
And he's out there making a name for himself.
You see him.
He's looking good. Last movie or TV show that really made an impact on you?
I'd say Hard Knocks. That's something I'm watching right now, and another Pitt man, Aaron Donald, just seeing him on Hard Knocks and then even training with him over quarantine and just off season, just watching him work and just seeing how he plays the game. That's probably the show that had the most impact.
Favorite meal of all time?
Besides that Chick-fil-A, I just had my favorite meal, I'll say my mom's lasagna. Shout out my mom.
All right. DeMar Hamlin from McKees Rock Central Catholic, proud and a redshirt senior. Good luck against the Orange Saturday, and thanks for coming down and being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And looking forward to Pat Bostic, former Pitt quarterback, is going to join us. We'll talk about the Panthers and the Orange when we come back. You're listening to the Pat Narduzzi Show on the Pitt Panthers Radio Network.
We got to be smart. We have to have poise. What? One, two, three.
And Paris Ford was electric Saturday, always enthusiastic, and you could see it, and you could certainly hear it, being the lone person in the stands at Heinz Field. Larry Richard at the Pat Narduzzi Show with former Pitt quarterback and Associate Athletic Director and Major Gifts Coach, Mr. Pat Bostic.
I don't think Paris needed to die for that pick.
You don't think so?
He could have picked it, taken it back.
You and I would have had to die for it.
I wouldn't have gotten there.
You know, Pat, you brought up a great point on Saturday because you're so close to what's going on throughout the year with the Pitt football team. And Coach, Pat, you said this freshman group is about as good as you've seen.
I just think they're deep and they're talented. I mean, the speed that you guys have been able to recruit was evident to me. I mean, even down to the threes, Bengali Kamara, Solomon DeShields. I mean, some of the young guys just – I think he played 11 true freshmen on Saturday. How much of the redshirt rule impacted that, not having to worry about them playing 4 games?
Well, they would have had to play in that game anyway, so we were going to play them. Otherwise, we wouldn't take our 1s and 2s out. So they would have played in that game. We'd have found 4 games for them. There's guys like Bengali's going to play the entire year if it was a 4-game rule or not, just because he can help us on special teams. We're not going to hold a guy back just for 4 games because we don't want to get him on special teams. If he can help us win a football game, we're going to put him out there. And right now, Bengali's one of those guys that's shown the ability to play special teams.
Yeah, how does that change your mentality, Coach? And again, a lot of fans might not understand that because of the situation we're in, all of your players kind of have a free ride in that regard for the season. So you can utilize a lot more players in the course of a game throughout the course of the season.
We sure can. And, Larry, the great thing is we can use them and they're worth using. There's been years where we're like, yeah, well, who can play? Even last year when you're picking 4 games, it's like, well, who can help us? Well, only these 3 guys can. We've got guys, Javonte Royal, Rashad Battle. I mean, Hunter Sellers is the guy that could help us. You didn't see much of. So we had 74 kids play last year. I thought it was 69. Someone had said, I went back and counted them. 74 players, and a lot of those freshmen are going to be able to make an impact, especially in special teams.
Yeah, 2 wide receivers start that were freshmen as well. Both made plays. I know everyone talked about Addison coming into the first game, but Jalen Barden had a huge big catch over the middle, and he's advanced himself.
He really has. Jalen's done a great job since he's been in camp. He's had opportunities, and he's taken advantage of them, and he'll continue to get better every game.
You know Dino Babers, the head coach, probably as well as any coach that you face. It was disappointing for them last year. They went 5-7 after going 10-3 and got a trip to the Camping World Bowl the year before that. But I know so much changes over the course of a year with your players coming and going. And Pat, what do you see with this Orange team when you looked at their tape against North Carolina? They were right in it till the fourth quarter. Then the wheels came off.
Yeah, they didn't finish a couple drives. Their defense is scrappy. I mean, they are different, I think, than a year ago without those two big ends on the edge. They had two of the best ends probably in the league. They didn't get enough credit. But this year, you look at their front, and they're really multiple. A lot of movement, a lot of twists and stunts. And I think probably part of that, Coach, is the experience they have in the secondary. They feel like they can do some stuff up front because those guys in the back end are – Cisco's an eraser. I mean, he's a guy that just makes plays.
Yeah, they've got a great secondary. That's the strength of their entire defense is back there, and it starts with Andre and the things that he can do back there in the back end.
Talk about Tommy DeVito, their quarterback. He's got a more experience under his belt, but he took a lot of hits last year, took a lot of sacks.
Yeah, it continued last week too. So hopefully that's a portent of what's to come in the future. But I'm sure they'll be trying to get rid of it. They got some good guys in the perimeter, some small, quick guys that like to screen a little bit to try to combat that pass rush. And he can run a little bit himself. They had Eric Dungy for a while. You mentioned that 10-win season, and he's another guy that I don't think – he was a tough guy. I mean, there were a couple times we hit him, and I thought this guy's done, and he just kept coming. And played a couple guys against us last year. DeVito played a little bit. They had the backup come in and run the ball on us a little bit. I'm sure they're looking at that tape, and they're going to try to dial up some of those quarterback powers and runs that worked for them last year. So they're going to improve from week 1 to week 2. You got to expect that, and everybody does, and it's just a matter of how much. And the Panthers are hoping to take the next step as well.
Pat Bostic, always good to see you, partner, and can't wait to get to Heinz Field. Pregame starts at 10. Appreciate you coming over tonight.
We'll see you there.
Coach Pat Narduzzi, good luck Saturday against the Orange.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
And we have kickoff at noon. Our pregame is on at 10. We want to thank our executive producer, PJ Kamanchik, Amanda Soleil producing here at the Pete Kaleberger back at Master Control, plus his game day contributions. Pitt's Paul Bartow and his team do an outstanding job with all their productions. Pitt Beyond the Script, by the way, Thursday on AT&T Sportsnet. That's at 5:30. They'll have an encore presentation Friday at 4. This is Larry Richert saying hail to Pitt, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you Saturday.